Oh, hello. Sorry, I'll turn off this. You can tell I'm a professional. Hello, welcome everyone to the Board Game Design Variety Hour. I'm Matthew Dunstan, your host. How is everyone doing on this fine Monday afternoon/evening? I see there's quite a few people already here, and there's been a fake raid. Hugs 8, Rob, Alex, Jay, Nicola, Hal. There's some people who are not here, who are half here. Oh, hi, Brad. How are you going? Oh, yes. Oh, great. Yeah. No, I recognize your whatever image from before. But yeah, glad to have you back, and hope everyone's doing well. How was everyone's weekend? I got to play a few games. I was working on some design. Got hooked on a new digital game, which I think may start featuring on stream, and maybe I'll play a little bit of it later. Which was a lot of fun. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, sorry I was a little bit late. It's just having a really nice. No apologies, Robin. How dare you turn up to the stream late? You're far too British, you know. But already lost my track of thought. You know, someone has to keep track of how many times I lose track of my own thoughts. Yes, 10 points from Rumbly's house. Oh yes, it's funny. Yeah, I feel, Robin, we've fallen into the same trap of having our usernames have like initials at the start, which was not the best play, which has led to obviously lots of interesting things when you go into other people's streams. And yes, the spectacular Mount Dunstan, as I am now known in some spheres. But yeah, I had a really good weekend generally, but still at home. And I was late because I was having a really amazing chat with Rory Muldoon of Scorer fame and of Set Sail, who some will know of great Roll and Write, featured as part of IdleCon. We're talking and possibly hatching some plans. Nothing to sort of announce, but who knows? There might be some things to talk about in the future. Things to come, which would be kind of exciting. But yeah, it's just interesting chatting about like board game distribution and you know, ways to do things differently that are, you know, not outside of sort of normal publishing or Kickstarter, and how can you distribute games and things like this, which is all really interesting, I think. Mount Dunstan and Rumbly. Why isn't it nice? Oh no, it's very nice. I find it quite funny, but I think it's just I guess it wasn't my intention having that as my username. I didn't really think about it that people are going to go to look at things. No, I have absolutely no worries with it. It's just, I think it's just the gap between what I had in mind when I did it and how it works out in reality. Robin says, oddly in digital I usually go by UK Dane, but it was already news on Twitter, so I went with my name. And then due to recognition change it from UK Dane to RMB Lees. Yeah. Yes, if we all knew that we were going to be spending so much time in digital platforms, I would have been much more consistent how I'm referred to across, you know, because I don't even have the same Twitter handle as Twitch, which I think in retrospect would have been a useful thing. But yeah, so today is a bit of a grab bag, a mix bag, however you would call the sweets you would get from the cinema. I'm not sure in your relative countries if you'd ever go to the cinema when we could still go to cinemas, and you'd have the kind of like the sweet bar, and we'd call it like a pick and mix. I'm not sure if that's the UK or the Australian term, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bunch of things today, I think. Yeah, there's a few people saying pick and mix. I played an interesting game. I played Nidavellir over the weekend. I might chat a little bit about that, which was sort of interesting. I wanted to chat and sort of coming out of that experience, and also the experience I've had play the digital game, which is Luck Be a Landlord. I think Michael played it on stream at some point, or at least that's where I heard about it. Or I think I saw some other streamer playing it, and I am pretty much completely hooked on the game. So maybe you want to look away when I show this game, but you know, it's sort of a roguelike slot machine game, which sort of sounds worse than it is. It's not as cynical as that, but it's it's very, very enjoyable. And it's actually interesting because I feel like those two gaming experiences almost fall at two ends of a particular spectrum, which I'm sort of thinking about of like exploration versus balance in games. And yeah, so it might be interesting to have a look at. Zay got to play Toetsu Sinyu 2 play yesterday. Are you saying that just to get me to try and say it on stream? I don't know what the kind of story is behind everything. Yeah, and which one is this? Which game is this? Like, who's the publisher? I must say I've missed it a little bit. Yeah, so say I'm tired of Tiny Islands. We'll play again, but I'm no longer addicted. But the crew, yes. Well, yeah, we might play a little bit of Tiny Islands as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, but I guess the first thing, yeah, would be maybe Nidavellir to have a bit of a chat about design. And I also sort of said in the tweet that it'll be a bit of a Q&A as well. So, you know, if anybody has, you know, has something they want to ask or anything like that, you know, as always, just shoot, and I'm quite happy to go with that. Maybe I'll make it look a little bit better. So it said, Toetsu is a Turtsy game of Christmas from my Secret Santa. From your Secret Admirer, sorry. I don't know why I thought Secret Santa immediately. The one with the pentagonal board. Oh, does it have like there's like lots of different actions I think I saw a Dice Tower review possibly of it. But yeah, maybe I don't remember it so well. Whoops, okay, that's gonna be a bit too big. All right, I'll just share this thing, I guess, so it looks somewhat nice. And maybe we'll try it like that, which will be a little bit more balanced. Yes, very professional stream here. You know, nothing best for this. I haven't even cut out the image. Okay, you learned it from Turtsy at BGGCon, so I knew you'd like it. But having it in real life, it's much nicer than the digital. And you're a big Turtsy fan. Well, yes, I had the pleasure of being one of the first play testers of what would become Anachrony way back in the days when we would both attend the UK the Playtest UK meetups in London. And yes, I I remember being utterly baffled by this game where you were borrowing from your Swords of the Future, and it was very early in that. But yeah, it's amazing to see how David's sort of gone on from that. It's very impressive, I think. And yeah, the kind of like I can't operate on that kind of level of complexity. Not just the complexity of the games, but I think the output of, you know, like the being able to output so many complex games, because I feel like so much more work goes into, you know, the more complexity in these sort of games. But yeah, so I doff my hat to him for that effort. Yeah, exactly. No, there's funny. Yeah, other experience I've played like Dice Settlers. I think a very early prototype. I remember. Yeah, it's always quite funny. But yeah, I always got the early experiences. So it was a bit rougher than normal, I think. But yeah, I mean that's fine. So yeah, Nidavellir, it's a game. I'm not a big. So it's a blind bidding game. I'd say it's sort of a Gateway Plus kind of game. It's fairly streamlined, and for all those people who, and I'm included. I'm one who is not a big fan of blind bidding generally. So I had a bit of trepidation when I got into it, but it's done really smoothly, and I think if you know, if it's put you off beforehand, I would check this one out. And yeah, it's a very smooth experience. I think it could be the thing that, you know, if you want kind of like, you know, like 45, 60-minute game, nothing too heavy. And it's full of lots of like little positive experiences, which is really great. I think it's just a very well put together game in that it sort of takes into account, I think, a lot of trying to take away a lot of the negative experiences you can have in blind bidding games. So essentially you have 6 rounds and you're going to make a series of bids. There are 3 different things that you're like 3 different kind of areas that you're going to get a card from, and you're bidding for each of their areas. But even if you bid the least in a particular area, you'll still get a card. So you're always getting 3 cards every round. You'll always end up with 18 cards. And even that as a base thing means that it kind of softens the blow of like just being outbid for something. There's a nice kind of almost engine building with these coins. You can kind of invest to get better bidding tokens that are better and better and better as the game goes on. And that's worth points. And it's one of these games, it's a bit of a set collection point salad. You can collect, there are 5 types of people you can get. And if you collect a lot of any of the types, that has its advantages. And there's an advantage if you collect one of each, because you get to get one of these heroes which have lots of different powers and things. You get to choose them. That's a nice moment. And there's like a lot of other kind of things that are just well done. It has a very good, I'd say very clean tie breaking mechanism. In these kind of games, you always have this problem of like what happens with ties, and there's a really nice way that that's kind of resolved, where you have these kind of initiative tiles, and if you have a tie with someone, then it's resolved in initiative tile order. But then the players who are involved in the tie, they essentially reverse who has which tiles. So if I have the 2 tile and you have the 4 tile, and the 2 goes, the 4 goes before the 2 because 4 is higher, and we tie, so you'll get first choice, and then I take it, and then after that we switch the 2 and the 4, and it's just a really, really smooth kind of way of doing it. So it's all very clean. It's only 6 rounds. Every round you essentially you always have 5 bidding coins. You're going to put 3 down, 1 for each of the areas, and then you have 2 kind of in reserve, which are kind of used when you upgrade the coins. So it's very smooth, and there's lots of really nice design elements, I guess, things to check out, and there's like even a little bit of a race, because sometimes with set collection games there can be a little bit of a lack of tension, because especially when all the points come at the end of this game. And so it can feel a little bit like, oh, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing, and there's not that same kind of tension. But they have this great little thing in the middle of the game. There's this like quick check for majorities in each of the type after the 3rd round. And there's like a little bonus, a unique bonus for each of the types if you have the most of that particular type. So there's like this little mini competition to try and get a few of those at least. Like there's just a lot to really like. But what made me think about it, and so I played with Ross of More Game Please, and Efka and Elaine from No Pun Included. It was lots of really fun. I really enjoyed playing with all of those folk. And, kind of some of the stuff that talking about later was this idea of, would you play this, what would it be like in 10 or 20 games time, and how would it feel, and would you want to keep playing it? And it was sort of interesting, because I think there are different schools of design to be thinking about when you come to that. I realize I've been completely ignoring chat, lost in my own thoughts. There's been some talk about Anachrony. Yeah, I know. They is there actually something in the Infinity Box, or was it literally a storage solution? Robin's game Throne and Allegoria has blind bidding, but done differently to the norm. Yeah, I think, and has that been well received? Do you think people have kind of been receptive to that? What else have we got? Yes, good folks. I think Ozelu Mayo has a similar way of resolving ties using flags. Ties break with player highest up the list and then goes to the end of the list. Yeah, I think it's not so. Oh wow, Ian O'Toole. Hey, how are you going? I'm well. How are you? Is it not some sort of insane time in the? Oh, I guess you're in Perth, aren't you? So it's possible that it's not a completely ridiculous time in the morning. But wow, everyone, the amazing illustrator, graphic designer, Ian O'Toole. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah. I've only had the pleasure of meeting Ian in person once or twice at Essen, but it was a really lovely experience. I should also say, I'm trying. On Wednesdays I stream. On Wednesday mornings, like European time, which is more kind of evening or I guess afternoon in Perth. So that's also, it's 20 past midnight. Yeah, okay, night out. But yeah, check me out on Wednesdays. I'm trying to reach a bit more of a people living in Australia audience on those days as well. But yeah, Nicola missed something. Which game was this now? I think I missed that bit. Nidavellir Australia. Yeah, I'm talking about Nidavellir generally, because I played it on the weekend. Yeah, and it was a really nice. You're looking forward to the wind farming game in Uruguay? Am I missing something, or is that something? Oh, is that the new Vidal Lacerda game that I guess Ian is presumably working on? if I'm interpreting correctly. But yeah, so I would really recommend it. It was just interesting to sort of think about. It's one of those games where I think the kind of type of experience or the type of where you're going to end up in the games isn't going to change that much. Like there's roughly, there's 5 types. You're going to probably go heavy into 1 or 2 of them. You might try a game where you try and be really even. So there's sort of like broadly 5 or 6 end states that you can sort of end up in. So even though it has that kind of quite sort of, I guess, limited exploration space, because we were talking about like what, I think a lot of, as we were sort of going around the table, that we're people who enjoy exploring new systems. We want to play new games all the time. You like the thing of learning new systems and results and actions and things. And that maybe Nidavellir, after a while, would just be very samey. But it was interesting by the same token, because it has all these little pockets of positivity, while at the same time also little mini, like, there's that little bit where you outbid somebody, and like it's quite interactive in that, or somewhat interactive. Or rather, I think it follows the line between being interactive but also positive. It's not too much negative interaction when you're missing out on things. So I think that's quite interesting. That if you played it in the 10th or 15th time, even though I'm not sure if I would suggest the game, I'm sure I would enjoy it, because there's all these little mini decisions that is still, every time you go into the round, you're like, oh, how am I going to bid? How am I going to work out this little puzzle and this little set collection thing that will be sort of subtly different each time? And the comparison to that, which I'll talk about later, or is kind of the other end of this spectrum, I would say, between an experience that is quite tightly bound and kind of inherently quite balanced, because you're always getting 18 cards. It's going to be some subset, and whether you get a variety or you get a lot of one, either of those can score well. So you can't kind of go too wrong. But the other end of that is the kind of like the roguelike games, which aren't so much in tabletop. And that's where you have these crazy, like it's all about having a run which is like kind of broken, where you get this amazing combination of things and it's completely crazy. And sometimes also by the same thing, you have a run where just nothing works and you just fail. And you kind of can't do that in tabletop. And that's why they kind of tend to be solo video games, because if you have a tabletop game and somebody just does terribly and somebody does well, kind of out of their control, that's not very enjoyable maybe for a social game. But it was sort of interesting that over the weekend I think I had an experience on either end of this kind of line, or at least how I think about it, which was interesting. Ian says, oh yeah, so this is the game. Sorry, I was wrong. It's not a Vital Lacerda game. So it's called Pampero by Julian Pombo. I hope that's roughly correct in terms of about building wind farms in Uruguay. Julian has been a long time playtester of Vitals. Okay, fantastic. Oh, exciting. I'll be interested to check it out. And Nidavellir has not made it down to Australia, at least not as far as I've seen. I heard a bunch of good stuff about it too. Yeah, I imagine, I'm sure pandemic and everything, and I expect things take a little bit longer to get out to Australia. And it's a smaller, French company, so I don't exactly know, how distribution is and things like that for them. Yeah, I think it's interesting. So they're called Guru Games. I remember seeing their stand in Cannes a couple of years ago, and they just started. They just produced their first game called Danny, which is kind of like it's like a social deduction style, Mysterium-ish kind of game with also quite striking art, which is sort of interesting. And it's another one of these, having to, kind of interpret what somebody's saying and things like this. But it's interesting to go from that, and they had another like a few party games, but this is kind of their first sort of slightly bigger box strategic experience. And I think I haven't heard, we played a tabletop simulator version of the game, but everything about it, like the kind of the production quality, the graphic design is all very clean. I hear that they've got some really cool like kind of 3D components to like slot the coins in and put cards in so you can see them. And I'm just always struck by the kind of it feels like there's a lot of these small French companies that kind of are producing games to such a high quality, and it really it's sort of setting a new standard. I'm just really impressed consistently, with what these smaller companies can do. So that's Guru Games, GRRE Games, small French company. And publisher of Nidavellir. So yeah, so that was kind of a enjoyable experience. So that was the sort of the thing over the weekend. Sort of stands out the most, I would say. And yes, the other big thing is Luck Be a Landlord, which I feel like I should at least showcase a little bit, maybe, and maybe I'm going to play it later in stream. So I probably won't, do too much about playing it now, I guess. But let's try this. I'll have to find a new way. Yeah, which is this sort of like rogue-like slot machine where you essentially have to pay rent payments every certain number of spins. You have to essentially reach a threshold and make a payment, otherwise you lose, and that kind of increases. And basically every spin you get to add a new symbol to your slot machine, and they have all these different combinations, as you might expect. And it's like, it's interesting how it's distilled the exact roguelike experience, which often already like roguelike deck builders or roguelike we're already kind of compared to slot machines because it's this constant little dopamine hits. And it's interesting that somebody's just gone and literally made a slot machine. And it's really great. It's really fantastic. You get, like this, you get all the money and then you just make it, and it's the classic, choose one from three, Discover in Hearthstone, all these things. And they just have all these different effects and, things to kind of understand. Like cultists, you get more money the more cultists that turn up in the same spin. And you're sort of like building a strategy, and they have items which are a bit like relics in Slay the Spire. But I've played it probably at least 15 times, like in a few days. I mean, games are quite quick, like 10 or 15 minutes, but it's been really, really fun. I don't know, like it's the kind of game which probably I think I went onto the developers Discord, which they have a kind of a cool little community already kind of growing, people talking about kind of cool ideas. And hopefully it's going to be an easy thing to add new content to and to keep kind of exploring new things, because that's what you kind of need, I think, to keep it kind of fresh and interesting. And it's all in early access on Steam, so I think they're still going to be working on it. But I was just really impressed, actually. I think it's kind of it's found something very compelling and just a lot of fun, I think. So yeah, I will. So it sounds like that when. So is this what happened when it was on Michael's stream? Did the 7 dwarves kill us? Yeah, there's like a barrel of dwarves which adds 7 dwarves, and it's not always the best move. But so yeah, we might play a little bit later on stream, just to show off the game, and because I really enjoy it, and actually I think it actually probably works reasonably well on stream, I imagine. So yeah, it's going to be a mixture of sort of design and playing games today, I think. Yeah, so that's if that's what you can expect from the Game Design Variety Hour, I guess. But yeah, so we'll do that a little bit later. I'll leave that as the first. I haven't made a decision. It's sitting there. Ian says, "Wait, you're in Prague, Matthew? I think you were in the UK last time we met." Yeah. So I was living in Cambridge and working there, and I still kind of do work in Cambridge, but I moved to Prague from the start of all the lockdowns in March last year. I was traveling in between the two. My partner is Czech, so I was sort of spending half my time between the Czech Republic and the UK. But now since then I've been kind of permanently in the Czech Republic, and it's not really the time you want to be flying around. So yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a change for me, and yeah, I mean, I've started streaming, and I obviously everyone's been dealing with new things this last year, but I've been really fortunate to be with my partner. I think we've been a lot harder to go through this all alone. And also I have all you kind folks, which is always a bit of a highlight of my week as well, getting to stream. So yeah, I'm in Prague is the short answer to that. Yeah, so I'm gonna roughly throw up a Q&A banner and just welcome questions. I should say also, it was interesting. I think somebody asked in a previous stream, like trying to stream about. No, I didn't get stuck there. In fact, I had to work really hard to actually get here before they closed the border. Way back in March last year, I was about to go to Aircon, a UK convention, and that same Friday night, the Czech Republic decided to shut their borders. They were locking down earlier than the UK did, and I had to scramble to get a flight, and I got in. I literally got in 1 hour before I would have had to quarantine formally. And then I got 12 hours before they shut the borders completely. So it was a bit of an interesting time, but thankfully it all worked out well. And we're really lucky here. We have a nice apartment and all my games are here. So it's the better place to be stuck in terms of having lots to play. And I've actually got to play a lot of games over the last year. I've been in a really fortunate position. Teresy's really happy to play pretty much anything with me. So we've explored a lot of games and it's been really, really fortunate. Hey, Richmond, how you going? Welcome, welcome. Anyone who doesn't know Richmond, part of Brandbeer Gaming, has some really fun, chilled out downhill bike riding. It's not the name of the game, but I can't remember whatever the downhill bike riding game is. Has some really, for at least for my time, I think it's these kind of chill downhill riding streams where you can just watch Richmond crash. Go and check him out, Brandbeer Gaming at Twitch. If anyone's able to put that link into the chat, if there's any mods, that would be great. Yeah, but yeah, hi, good to see you. It's a bit of a general stream. I've chatted a little bit about a few things I played and looking at kind of confined experiences versus roguelikes. You know, do you want to? Because the other thing about exploration is that love and why roguelikes are kind of like my drug, probably, so to speak, is because every time you play, you're exploring a different part of that space. And thanks very much, Sate. Thanks for popping that in there. And there is that space is so rich. You know, there's so much to explore, and you can add just a single new element, a single new symbol, and suddenly there's a new strategy or a new thing to try out, and you just want to try it and explore and see how it feels. And you have all of that in such a small system. It's kind of like the perfect thing for me. So sort of comparing that to these games, which, you know, offer like a very core experience, which is somewhat similar. Although even Nidavellir already has an expansion, so I'm not sure, yeah, how that works. Alex asks, have I played Hades? I haven't. It's come up a few times on stream. Ultimately, I don't really like shooters or like fast action games. It's not really my thing. So that's kind of turned me off Hades, to be honest. I should probably try it. And I think it is available on the Mac. That also sometimes is the problem. So yeah, I have to admit, I'm intrigued by it, and so many people talk about it, and you know, I feel like because there are a lot of things that I feel like, you know, it's worth trying out as a sort of, you know, as a game designer, it's good to try lots of things because that's how you kind of build up your kind of gaming vocabulary, your design vocabulary, and not just in analog, but also in digital. I really love doing things and looking at things in digital as well, because I think there's so many things you can learn from one way to the other. And with like I've shown the Hitman game on stream that we're sort of working on. Hey, not yet again. Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Hope it is well. I should keep drinking. I should also say that I thank you very much, Ian, for the follow as well. I don't have any kind of automatic. I'm a bit of a amateur Twitch streamer. I don't have any of these automatic things where it'll make some noise when someone follows. But thank you very much for following. Yeah, it's we must be almost pretty close to 100 followers, actually. Maybe not that I'm trying not to focus too much on numbers and things like that, but we must be pretty close. We're at 99, so if anyone's watching and hasn't followed, you're welcome to. Have you ever thought, Ian, of doing some streams? Are you streaming? I don't know. If you are streaming, do let me know, because, well, firstly, we all go and follow you, but I'd be super interested in seeing how you work. Brad asked, do you think it's possible to replicate the roguelike experience in a non-digital board game form? Well, interestingly enough, I am working on a game which is trying to take, well, not the roguelike. No, they're not the same, are they? Sorry, my head immediately went to this auto battler kind of genre, which is the other big thing in video games, which I'm really interested in. I think, as I said before, I think it's a bit difficult. I think the problem with the roguelike experience is it's very puzzly. It's a very personal experience in a way. And I think, and part of the fun is, yeah, having those sort of really, like those outlier experiences where you have some amazing composition and it makes lots and lots of money and you do incredibly well. You know, it's not so much fun to sort of be on the receiving end of that. And the other thing I guess about roguelikes is they're very based, and that's why people love them, because there's this sort of unknown every time. But in games, in board games, that has a different kind of connotation, especially in a multiplayer game. Is how do you have that luck be kind of not balanced, but sort of equal for all the players? So I don't think it's impossible. I just think it has to look quite different to how we would normally approach games, I guess. It's interesting, having played Luck Be a Landlord, I'm now thinking about like a slot machine-y kind of game. I think these kind of bingo style games, I think where you can have that roguelike experience, I think where you want the game to be quick, I think you want it to be simultaneous. I think when games are a bit quicker, people don't worry so much about the luck element. And I mean, like deck building obviously is fitted a lot into digital roguelike games. And you could argue that deck building is kind of roguelike in a sense of how it's offering those opportunities and I guess making it a little bit like random in what you're choosing to do or what the opportunities you have in a board game. That's not unheard from, like drawing cards from a deck or something like that. So I think it's possible. I don't have a good idea. I would always go for like the short, I mean, again, but that's a bit of my biased blinkers view at the moment, where I think these kind of like shorter bingo style simultaneous play games are a really great space to be in. And I think that's where I would look to put if I wanted something like a roguelike experience. The other thing about roguelikes is that they're a little bit more about kind of, it's not about points in the same way. It's kind of about survival or about kind of progression. At least some parts of roguelike, it's like permadeath and things like this. And those also don't play so well in board games, or at least multiplayer board games. So I think you could definitely have like analog solo games easily could incorporate roguelike elements, I think, quite well. And I guess the only other thing is that it depends like which parts of the roguelike experience you're replicating, because the true randomness, it's a bit hard to, you have a bit of a content problem, like managing that randomness and managing that is more difficult in a tabletop sense. There's just more fiddle, and that can kind of go against the really nice flow that you can get in these kind of games. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, I guess. Rob says, unless anyone watch a cake being made, I don't think I'll be sure. Well, I mean, we all know how popular MasterChef is, for example, Robert. I've been getting very much into MasterChef, partly because of my I'm trying to do research for this flavor game, and because I haven't lived in Australia, but you probably already know about this Reynold Palmero, who's like this dessert king from Australian MasterChef, who makes these incredibly themed desserts, and I would recommend anyone checking them out. But he's very popular, so I wouldn't say never to have. Twitch baking could be very relaxing. I could quite enjoy it. Ian, I've not really thought about streaming. I see, yeah. Most of my day is bashing my head on a table and scribbling in a notebook, so it might not work. Yeah, I mean, I think the nice thing about a stream obviously is you can choose what part of the process you're showing. I don't show filling out spreadsheets, on the stream really, and even the actual design work I don't. I sort of just chat about design and hopefully, well, it seems like enough people are interested to watch, but. Yeah, I think it's also just nice having a bit of community. Maybe it might also be different. I know it's different in Australia with the level of lockdown, but for me, being able to connect with people when I'm stuck inside all the time is really nice. Say, said, anyone else seen Luck Be a Landlord tonight? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I haven't quite got that into my head, but yeah, now it will be. He said, maybe if the cinemas were animals and the slot machine was a bag. Well, I was thinking about a slot machine bag builder then a little bit. And I have had some thoughts. So maybe who knows? Don't, watch this space. I think with like nice chips, I think it could be actually quite a fun kind of experience. Galaxy Trucker is an abstract slot machine game. Yeah, I can see that. I guess it doesn't have it. I think the difference is that I guess a slot machine is you're kind of like sampling things every time. You're not kind of building, whereas Galaxy Trucker has that kind of building element. It's kind of repeating things. So yeah, it's sort of interesting. Oh, hi, Rob. Oh, you're welcome. Well, welcome back. We've been chatting a little about like roguelike games, Luck Be a Landlord, which will probably feature a little bit later on the stream because I'm a little bit hooked on it. And Nidavellir, which I played over the weekend. So yeah, fun times. And Eno Tool dropped in, like the famous Eno Tool, which was really fun. Thanks, Ian, for that. Yeah, so everyone being Nicola only knows Zumbo and his desserts. Yeah, so check out this Reynold, like just put in like Reynold Reynold, and like MasterChef Australia, and you'll find a bunch of stuff on YouTube. It's really pretty amazing stuff, I would say. Jay is unlurking. Welcome back. Yeah, so as I said, sort of at the top of the hour, it's a bit of a grab bag today. So feel free to celebrity cameos are great. Yeah, I need more to just drop by. You know, like where's like I don't know, Elizabeth Hargrave or Eric Lang when you need them to just drop by the stream. And but of course, all the folks in chat are just as important to me too. Yeah, so I'm going to answer questions, I guess, if anyone has questions. But I'm also going to play, maybe I'll play a little bit of Luck Be a Landlord. I think if people are interested to see what the game is like, maybe this is interesting for people. If anyone else has something else they'd like me to do, let me know. Oh, thank you very much for the hydrate reminder. Oh, yeah, again, this I have to manually check. I have to manually check my stream manager, which is in a different tab. Yeah, so I don't see things otherwise. I didn't fangirl as much as Ilka does, though. So any designers wanting a feel-good moment should pop over to Lollapalooza. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have to be a bit more. I have to be. What is it? I have to emote more or something like that. Sorry. Yeah. Alex says, "What advice would you give to someone with a game that's pretty good but not great?" Yeah, that's tough. It's interesting. I remember I was chatting last stream about this idea of like when you get stuck in a valley of game design, and like when you get to the bottom of the valley, it feels kind of like stable and steady, and it's hard to like get out of that position, even though that might not be the right valley to be in for your game. I think, yeah, and I mean, just as a sort of like a broader point, if you want to release the game professionally these days, sorry, you want it to be published and released, as a real game. It's harder and harder to stand out. There are like that you hear it all the time. Like the average standard design is much higher than it was, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago. It's always going up, and the average is definitely going up as well. And so yeah, just like a game that's pretty good is not exactly where you want to be. That being said, there are a couple of things. I guess the first thing is I'm going to answer the question of like, do you need to change it, or like maybe like how are you defining it to be pretty good? Because I think there are a lot of games which can add to the experience without like mechanisms or things changing. So having an amazing theme, having like amazing component, having something even that's very smooth, like a really smooth experience, that somehow fits into a style of play or an audience that don't have a lot of options for like things of a particular interest. Like when I was talking about Nidavellir, there aren't a lot of like smooth blind bidding games that are that could work for that type of audience. And so like the game is good, but I wouldn't say it's like a great game, but it could do quite well because it's able to serve that audience really well. So I think it's that's the first thing. I would say there are other ways you can kind of elevate a game and make it great when the mechanisms can serve something else. Like something else can lead that experience. Like maybe, yeah, it's a very like kind of ergonomic, smooth experience, or it could be an amazing thematic experience, or just look great. And so the mechanisms can be good and support that like great experience, but they don't have to be like the star of the show. But if you feel like the design is pretty good and you want to make it great, I think there's a couple of things to try. And well, I mean, you just have to make up your mind. Like, are you happy with the game or not? Like, not every design is going to be great. Like sometimes, at different points of the process, ideas get abandoned, and sometimes a game might have gone quite far down that process, and you realize, actually, you know what? I think I'm happy where this is, but I don't think I can really push it any further. I've kind of explored where it should go, and I don't think, you don't have to. You can just say, okay, I'll just leave it here. I don't have to keep working on it. So that's always an option, and also the kind of related option, just put it on a shelf and come back to it, and you might see it in new eyes. But if you're going to want to actively work it, or like try and find ways to kind of maybe prompt you to like get out of that rut, I guess, of like the kind of the valley of mediocrity or something, is I think one thing is to think about, well, what's something I can change really radically and see if the game would still work. So part of that is maybe understanding, like, is there a part of the game you really want to keep? And then if you know which part you want to keep, well, then look at the other parts and like say, well, can I just completely change this? So for example, I've had games where I've had, I think a common problem is where you have too many phases in a game. And what I mean by this is, like even having, say I have a phase, like I have a tile laying game, and I've got this really cool mechanism for how I get to pick a tile or how I compete with the other players to get what tile is. And then there's something interesting about where I place the tile and I score. So there's sort of two phases of acquisition and then kind of resolution or building. And a lot of the times those games are fine, but the moment they get a lot better is the moment where you cut one of those two things out, essentially. When you get rid of that kind of cool acquisition mechanism that you thought was really interesting, and maybe it is interesting, but actually the fun part of the game is building this tableau or building this kind of thing in front of you. And so like just get it out of the way. And suddenly the game, it's sort of strange because you haven't changed much about the game, but sometimes if you like halve the play time of a game, suddenly I think people perceive it in a very different way. There's a lot of a different expectation. Like there's a big difference between a 30-minute and a 60-minute game. And you can, a kind of a light, punchy experience in 30 minutes might be great. But if you stretch it over 60 minutes, then suddenly people are like, oh, this is kind of okay, but it's a bit much for what it is. I rave about Point Salad all the time, but if Point Salad was a 30-minute game instead of a 10-minute game, then it wouldn't scratch the same itch. And so if you had to do this complicated thing to get the, to get the cards and then play them, instead of this, you just take the cards and they're done. There's no payment or anything. So I would think about that. And just ask some questions like if it's a card game, it's like, what if it wasn't a card game? Or, I think you've just got to try and like break stuff just almost for the sake of it. Because I think it's just any way to get you out of thinking about the game as it currently is. Anything that might let you see it with different eyes. And I think sometimes just making a random change or like a big change can suddenly throw in, like it can make you think about things in a new light, I guess. If you remove something and you're suddenly like, wow, that game was horrible. Like then you realize actually the thing you removed maybe was really important. Or if you remove something and you don't care, then or you can try the other way. You might go like, okay, you know what, I have a kind of a cool drafting game, but what if I had even this added twist on drafting? Like when I draft a card, I get a resource, or if I draft these two cards together, they do some cool combo. You can go the other way and go for like even some more detail, and maybe you're going to find something really interesting and a really great hook and like a great puzzle in that. So there's no one way. There's just lots of different things you can try to like, and I think it's related to probably other kind of like, I'm sure you can look at like creative writing or all these other things to kind of like get you out of a rut creatively. And I think it's similar for game design, I'd imagine. So hopefully that was Alex's great questions. Yeah. You say maybe I'll leave that to, I'll leave you to that. Robert, I'm not sure what you mean by player count, but yeah. Add rabbits, see if that makes it better or worse. Yes, we can always try that. Robert says, on the subject of breaking stuff, how do you get players to test if something is broken? Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think there are definitely like certain playtesters who are kind of known for that, I guess. And if you're lucky enough, you hopefully have somebody. I mean, you're usually looking for people who are a bit more analytical in terms of how they approach games. And can, but even if you want to test something broken, well, you can tell players how to play, or yourself. You can say, look, I'm not sure if this is a bit too good, so make it happen in the game. If you think a card is a bit too good if you get it early, well, just stack the deck and make sure somebody gets it as their first card, and just see how it works out. Or I think you can be instructive. Or if your game has multiple paths of victory, you can say, look, can you just focus on do everything you can to go up this track or whatever. I think you can be very intentional there, and I think that can be then quite informative. As long as everyone following the rules and everything like that. But if it's a more general thing and you can't tell, then that's when these kind of like, I guess, playtesters with more analytical skills is really important, because they're usually able to look at a system and go like, I think that might be the bit that I can exploit. And then they'll do that, and maybe they could see that where you couldn't. Obviously, it's harder the more levers you've got to pull in your game. Like the more variability you've got, the harder it is to know what's broken or not. And something else that's kind of related to that is that sometimes it's much more, and I think I'm stealing this probably from somewhere out in the board game design, talking/writing ether, but it's not about balance per se, but it's about the perception of balance. A lot of people after a game, especially the first time they play a game, there might be a perception that something's imbalanced or broken when it isn't. And, so part of it is trying to work out, is it just a player's perception or a playtest's perception of something being broken, or is it really? And hopefully then you can like gather data and you can see whether, if you've been playtesting a lot and you're the designer, you'll probably have a sense of like, oh yeah, people try that all the time and it doesn't work out that much. But I think but people then still thinking it's broken then is a useful data point, in the sense that you've got to and the unfortunate truth is that, some people, that might be the only game they play. And if that's the only game they play, and they have that experience of a particular strategy or whatever, will they play it again? And that's like a different question, but just as important. And then you're kind of dealing about perception. Sometimes it's about like expectations. Like, do players know that something, I feel like square or geometric scoring is always one of these things, especially stuff that scores at the end of the game, that can sometimes leave a sour taste in players' mouths, because for those players who don't grok it early on, they go like, oh, you're collecting some stuff, but you're not doing much in the game, you're collecting these cards, and then you can get to the end of the game and the player like lays down 5 cards like, 100 points, and then they win. And sometimes it wasn't that was particularly unbalanced. It can be just even how it's kind of tracked in the game. The fact that players don't know that they've got, that someone has this bank of points they're going to reveal, or that, they're not scoring it in game, or that somehow the perception of what something is valuable or not. There's a lot that can go into that, players' expectations not meeting what the game is, or the kind of inherent difficulty of different strategies. I think it's, sometimes you can say, someone say like this card or this kind of strategy seems really broken. You're like, oh no, but there's ways you can kind of counterplay against that. But if the counterplay requires a lot of experience of the game, then you might still have a problem, because if you're relying on people to be experienced in the game to kind of balance it, or to give the perception of balance, then that's not going to happen in early times of playing. And then you might not get people who will play it to that point, unfortunately. Alex says there's nothing like releasing a game to thousands of people to test all those edge cases. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Like games, well, firstly, like if games are perfectly balanced, and it's sort of like what I saw with Rolex, I think if everything has all the corners smoothed off, sometimes it's not a very fun experience, because it's like I remember we played a game of Egizia once, which is like this Euro game, kind of like 60 minutes midway Euro game. And I think after, like 60 or 90 minutes of playing, it was a 4-player game, we all ended up with exactly 100 points. We were dead heat. And I remember getting to the end of the game, it's like, it's not that fun. We did kind of different things, and like, yeah, it's amazingly balanced, but was that a fun experience that we kind of spent this time and that we're just all 100 points equally? I think leaving a little bit of like unbalance, a little bit of differentiation, like that gives a bit of excitement. That gives a sense of winning and losing, and that might get people to want to keep playing. So yeah, it's tricky, and even on a practical level, sometimes you can't test everything, or you just simply, things fall through the gaps for whatever reason. So hopefully, you've done your best, and but yeah, you just got to be prepared that sometimes someone's going to find something that, like someone like Uwe Rosenberg, who I really respect. You look at just the number of playtesters in his rulebooks, like 600 playtesters, and the number of playtesters, like how much he works on his games. But he still had like some crazy, like some infinite loops in Caverna or whatever, or in Glass Road, or like, there are still things that kind of get patched later on. So, I think even with the best intent or the best experience, you can't control everything. Yeah. More good questions by Alex. Have you ever built a game of yours to be playable by computer in order to cover some of the wider combinations? Well, I'll start by saying that Vlaada Chvátil is quite well known, I think, for doing this. I mean, he's kind of a savant almost. Like, he has so many different skills in terms of like programming. He's written books and designed games, and I know he does do this. But no, I don't. Is the short answer. I think the games I design don't tend to be that complicated, and there's not that many different moving parts that you can mostly do it by feel. And I think I also stay away from certain things. Like, what can I say? I think there's a way that you can design in like a kind of a safe way, especially when you're making like combos, like like a variable power card game, which are the games I love. But there are just some effects that are always the ones that give you problems. So anything that copies other effects is like, or doubles something, like that's always the case of like something bad could happen if I'm doubling an effect. Something affecting itself is sometimes a problem. Like sometimes if you just say like it has to affect anything but itself, because that's where you can get kind of weird loops. Just generally multiple use effects, like where you can do something as many times as you want. The moment you say something, you can only do this once a turn, or you can only do it once per card, that usually like cuts down on any point where you're going to have like crazy like imbalances and things like that. So I guess there's also like sort of tricks that you can kind of avoid most of the problems in the design phase. And then, yeah, there might be imbalances in strategies, but then usually, again, my games aren't so complicated that you can tell pretty quickly if something really feels bad. And again, I'm just doing it by feel. I think if I feel like I have a pretty analytical mind, and if I have a good feeling that it feels roughly balanced, and the play testers are roughly agreeing, it's borne out through the play test, I'm not too worried about needing like a computer to kind of back up that feeling, I guess. Yeah, I would love to meet or like interact more with Vlaada, because everything, like from what I hear on different parts of the industries, he's really just a very unique individual, like that operates in lots of different fields, and we only see him in the kind of game design side, but very, very talented individual. Yeah, I bet Ryan Locker could do that all if he wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, and it is a lot of work to do a simulation. I mean, I can code to a somewhat extent, but yeah, exactly. Like it just. I guess the problem is that, like, especially early on in a game design, you're iterating so quickly, so it doesn't make sense to make a model because you're just going to change it again. And then when you get to the stage where you're sort of, it's quite settled. Again, like, I'm not making these games that I need to like balance thousands of numbers. I just don't do that. It's just not my interest. So I think for the games where you do that and where it's easy enough to simulate and you know how to code it, then great. It's a good skill. I think Friedemann Friese maybe does that as well. You just check me on that. I'm not sure, but that's kind of where I say it. But if you're able to do it, I think you can learn some really interesting things, and it's a different way to approach that balancing problem. But again, like how balanced is too balanced and this sort of thing. Nicholas, which bits of maths would you recommend taking a look at to better develop a game? For instance, it took me a while to find that what I wanted to know about combinatorics is more about calculating the composition of a number than about the number of commutation and permutations arising. That helped me a lot, but it took a moment to find. Yeah, I guess if there was one field which I really enjoyed in my undergraduate days of mathematics, it's generally the field of discrete mathematics or number theory. Most of the stuff in there is where you get a lot of the interesting things that are kind of useful for games. So you have all your sort of probability theory, permutation combinations, all these sort of things. You also have graph theory, which is super interesting. I mean, if anyone's seen Good Will Hunting, the kind of famous problem, or in fact, most of the problems that they work on in that film are graph theory problems, like the Bridge of Königsberg, like that sort of 7 Bridges of Königsberg is also kind of a graph theory problem. In maths, a graph is simply a set of points that are joined by edges. So it's a very abstract thing, but when we look at a map or any kind of network, that's a graph in a graph theory mathematical sense. And there's actually lots of really interesting things in graph theory, in number theory, even in like cryptology. It's not cryptology. What's the word? Anyway, it's coming out of my head. But yeah, I'd recommend like discrete mathematics, probability, permutations, these sort of things. I think, yeah, is it called cryptography? It might be called cryptography, but it's you know, it's essentially how people, you know, they do unbreakable passwords and codes and things like that in computer systems these days. There's also some other interesting things in computer science also generally that are quite interesting. Nicholas says, oh, yeah, be more of a look for a lot of Numberphile. Yeah, Numberphile's great. I really like it. It's a great YouTube channel. But yeah, if you just type in discrete mathematics, graph theory is super interesting. And there's a lot of concepts in there that can be applied to games. Like my first game, Relic Runners, was based on a graph theory problem called the traveling postman problem, which is kind of a famous problem about, you know, like if there are a set of, you know, if there's a town with roads and houses, what's kind of the most efficient way to travel around those houses without repeating things. Yeah. Rob said, I did a Monte Carlo simulation on die rolling in a war game once in order to discover numbers of dice and target numbers that gave the probabilities looked right. I could have done it mathematically, but graphs helped me visualize stuff nicely. Yeah, there's Stand Up Maths is also another, his name's Matt Parker, I want to say. And he does some really great, yeah, Matt Parker, also Australian actually, all the best, although he lives in the UK, you know, all the best Australians end up in the UK. But he also makes some great YouTube videos and also did some things where I think like he crunched Monopoly via like computer. And that's the other thing is you don't have to come up with a model. You can just like output lots of results and sort of see, you know, you don't need the analytical solution. You can have the kind of like brute force method is sometimes enough. If you simulate 1,000 times, that's good enough really. Yeah, and Hannah Fry, exactly. Yeah, because Hannah wrote a great book about like games and mathematics and things like that. So yeah, would definitely recommend checking those out. Some really some great videos and yeah, this kind of like simulation thing is quite important for that, or at least I remember seeing that from that. Yeah, so that's another way you can sort of approach modeling, that you can just sort of like spit out enough results. And sometimes that's a bit easier to do. It's easy to kind of code something to output just a bunch of random numbers, and then you do your kind of analysis on it, rather than having to kind of model the problem completely or understand the analysis beforehand. Oh, he has a podcast called Problem Squared. Oh, I shall write that down. That is, I will, or I'll open it in a tab. I haven't heard about that. Seeing as I am now, is it with Hannah Fry? Oh no, Beck Hill. Interesting. Oh, and it's relatively okay. So it's like once a month sort of thing. Oh, very cool. Okay, yeah, I'm really. I mean, I still have a sort of a casual interest in mathematics. You know, I did it quite a bit in my undergraduate days, and yeah, it's still, I enjoy kind of reading casual mathematics books, and I sort of understand enough that I can kind of keep up with it. I'm not at the level that I could do it in research or anything like that. But oh, another Australian, Beck Hill's another Australian. See, it's just, what can I say? We're just the best country, the best people. Yeah. So, well, I mean, feel free to drop more questions in the chat, but I can see on my other monitor, I can see Luck Be a Landlord, and it's calling to me. I guess actually even, I don't know if you can even, if Luck Be a Landlord is in fact even a category on Twitch yet. It would be interesting. Oh yeah, awesome. I will officially change it to Luck Be a Landlord. But we could also talk about game design. So feel free to keep asking me questions in chat, and I won't necessarily. But I'll also try and play slowly enough, maybe for those who haven't. So yeah, shout out in the chat if there are people that haven't seen it and want me to go somewhat, not slowly, but like kind of talk about what I'm doing. But if everyone's already knows how it works, then I'll go a bit more quickly, I guess. If I tag it. Oh, I see. Okay, all right. I will. How do I tag it? Edit stream it. So, what the? I'm streaming in this category, so hopefully that works. So someone tell me if it looks right on Twitch. I can't see it at the moment. Anyway, so yeah, this is I've just had my first spin, so we're basically at the start of the game. Yes, I've removed the Q&A. Yeah. So basically, for those who don't know, I am going to have to pay a certain amount of rent in a certain number of spins. Every spin costs me one. and this is my current money up here, and I have to pay 25 money in 4 spins. And after every spin, I get to add a new symbol, and basically I'm going to get presented 20 symbols that is drawn out of my inventory. And so right now my inventory is 25 symbols. I've got 5 actual symbols, which all give me 1 money essentially when they come up, and I have 20 empty symbols, which give me nothing. So I always want to be taking some symbols at the start, because having anything is better than nothing. It's giving me some income. Once you get to basically every symbol I take replaces an empty, and once I get to 25, I can go past 25. I can have more than 25 symbols, but I'm always getting like a random selection of that of 20 symbols essentially. And there's just basically lots of different ways in which these things can interact with each other, and they have a really great kind of way of showing like how they work. And like if something is referred to in like I actually think the UI is really great in this, like because this, for example, light bulb talks about flowers, but then I can actually mouse over flower and then it pops up with what flowers are, so I can understand. Symbols have different rarities, so that gives you a bit of idea how likely you are to see them or not. So cultists are an interesting one to start out with, because cultists are the classic geometric scaling problem. So like cultists give you more and more money for the more cultists you have in the same spin. And actually getting one really early is kind of interesting, because then you can like try and take lots and lots of cultists. I've had some interesting runs. Bananas are, when they get destroyed, and there are sometimes ways symbols can be destroyed, it'll give me a banana peel, which is okay. Anything that gives you 1 is not great. Like it goes all the symbols as a base thing can give you go all the way up to 6, although they're quite rare at the higher levels. But generally you want like at least 2 or 3s. And light bulbs help you if you're taking lots of flowers. So like Alex says, I would like to see a way to lean into a strategy a bit more. That seemed difficult to make things work together nicely. I mean, it is a roguelike. There's still definitely an element of luck and like whether you get things to work well together. But yeah, we can do a bit of a cultist run and see how that goes. And it's not so bad to start. There are some other kind of like people synergies. Light bulb would probably be my other one. I think early on I like to take things that have the possibility to be like non-linear. So like bananas are very linear. Like every banana is 1. And there isn't really much in the game that like makes this better. There are a few things. There are a few things that help you with fruit, and bananas are a type of fruit. Everyone's like, obviously. But like light bulbs help you with flowers, and there are lots of things that go into like the flower strategy, and light bulbs are like the kind of the worst bit of that flower strategy. There are better things, but it kind of helps you along that way. But yeah, cultists, let's try cultists. Bananas do slip up thieves, but I've actually found thieves to be pretty weak. Like I think, and I have a feeling I read that they're going to buff thieves in the next. Bananas are not the only fruit. Yeah. Robin says probably too random to do that, but flowers, seeds, water bulbs seem to have a lot of variety. Definitely my take on it is there's lots of things that support the flower strategy. There's a lot of just different symbols at like the lower areas, and that's why I feel like it's a bit easier. But let's try cultists, because there are some other ways you can make that work. So like I've added it, and then I get my income. So here I'm going to take the urn, because the poor goldfish I think has very few strategies like that kind of help it to be better than just 1. I do start with the flower. Yeah, I do know. Why no banana? I like urns. These spirits. There's a lot of things that can work with spirits, and they basically they also destroy themselves. So because early on you have to take these 1 coin things, and you don't really want them near the end. But it's quite hard to actually get rid of symbols. There's not lots of like chapels in the game. It's very hard to do. So I like urns because there's a way to get rid of them later. And spirits are quite good because they give you this injection. I found there's a whole range of animals which basically like give you some like fractional return, which is higher than 1 coin. But I found them pretty unimpressive, or at least the common ones. So I'm going to go with an urn. See you, Robin. Enjoy your dinner. You'll see how it ends up. So the interesting thing here is that there are, we start with 1 spades, and there's like 1 for each of the suits. And there are some things that trigger off that, but there are also things that, quite a few things, especially items, you get items later in the game, which kind of give you a constant effect. There's a lot that rely on you having the same symbols. So if I was ever presented with an option, basically there's an item that helps you with black items, but it doesn't matter what the item is, like it could be spades or clubs. So I'm going to just chose to have a pair because having more things of the same type, there's more items that can help you with that, essentially. Now we do get a light bulb. I'm not going to take things with no upside, so I'll just take a light bulb. Yes, nothing ever bad comes from cultists. Well, it's not great when you don't ever see another cultist after you take one first. But anyway, so yeah, so I've got to pay my 25. I've got 6 left, and now I have to pay 50 in the next 5 spins. So I have to make an average of 10 per spin, but I should be able to do that. So Sloth is another one of these sort of like you get a bit more than 1 in each turn. It's not great. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, enjoy your design collaboration this evening. I hope it goes well. Enjoy your evening and dinner. Safe, there's a bunch of different like things that you have to like break open and give you a stuff when you destroy. The only way to reliably do this is either with thieves or with there's an item that lets you do that. I tend to like to get the item first. But Rabbit Fluff is actually really great. It gives a base 2 money, which is already like good, basically. And it helps you find like better symbols, which at this early stage of the game is really great. I really like Rusty Gear, actually. It's one I didn't realize how good it is later on in the game, because you can really play for this if you take a lot of the same type. And it basically doubles the money that things of the same type that go together. And there are quite a few things that do really well. Like an early piggy bank is interesting because it basically like doubles your money. But I'm a bit like I haven't got anything amazing going on, and it can be a bit of a I don't know. It's tricky. If I knew I'm going to get a Rusty Gear later, I would just take a piggy bank. Oh, let's take a piggy bank. I guess an early piggy bank is probably good because the longer you get it going, the more it's going to do. Okay, we've got a cultist. Okay, so let's see how well we can do with the cultists. I really like also that they have their little animation to like tell you that something like triggered because of the adjacency. I don't like any of these, but the egg at least has a chance of going into a chick, which is still like a 1 gold thing, but then it has another chance of getting into a hen, which is good. And there's also one thing that works with eggs, which is like this egg carton, which is good. So yeah, we'll go for that. We just want some cultists, basically, would be really nice. These are all garbage, absolute flipping garbage. But I'm going to take the copies. I basically always take doubles if I can, because yeah, it's just better to have multiples of the same type. I'll take another Rabbit Fluff, which is really, really nice. Yeah, there's a hen pen which helps you with hens, but there's also like an egg carton that basically automatically takes all the eggs out of your symbols and it kind of stores them and they score every round, which is good. So I can pay my 50, so we're all fine. And it goes up to 100 in 6 spins. So Lucky Capsule is basically gives you a better symbol. Chemical 7, basically you need 3 of them, and then it gives you a lot of money. But it also gives 7 when it gets destroyed. And Pinata just gives you like lots of sweets, and candy is the main thing. There's like you can get toddlers, and toddlers eat candy and give you lots of money. But I like to get a toddler first, so I might go for a capsule and try and get a good thing after. Oh, here we go. Here's the egg carton, and I think I'd still. Oh no, my egg hatched. So. I think it still might be the thing because it makes eggs really easy to pick, which is good. I don't have any red suits, so this makes like hearts and diamonds a bit better. And I don't really like seeds, so I think I'll go for egg carton. Oh, and now that I have a hen, actually, hens have a chance of laying eggs, which is really great. Yes, the object is to last. Yeah, so basically there's a limited amount of times the rent increases, like 10 times, I think. You have to get up to the last level, you have to make 750. And basically you have to keep going. And if you get to the last rent payment and you make it, then you've won, essentially. And if you miss a rent payment, then you've just automatically lost. So this is good. This is like a rare, like 3 money for a thing is just great, even though if it doesn't have any other strategies. So yeah. But we're going okay. Like, where are we? We need 100 in 4 spins. So we're well on the way. So this is the toddler. Yeah, so it destroys pinatas and candy, and it gets 6 money for each of them destroyed, which is quite good. So actually, I will take a toddler because it lets you pick up sweets and things like that. And it's interesting. You might think that like it takes a while to get adjacencies in the game, but because you spin so often, over time they almost always happen. Essentially, I'm going to take an apple. We've got some good. Yeah, I mean, we've just got some good 3 money things early, which is quite powerful, realistically. And I think it's these you can see these rabbit fluff is really helping. It gives you a better chance to find good things. Robert asks, is there a chance of a symbol not appearing after you bought it? Or is every space on display? No, so it's taken from this selection. So here, the sum of these is 25, and there's only 20 symbols shown at any one time. So you're going to get like 80% of the symbols will be shown. And if you have more than 25 symbols, because like basically you keep replacing empties, once you have 25 symbols and no empties, then if you keep adding stuff, then you just keep adding stuff. You have more symbols, but then you're kind of reducing your odds of seeing any particular symbol each time. And it's a completely random selection. So it's basically like a bag builder that you're just drawing out of the bag each time and then throwing everything back. Yeah. Yes, there was a special item, telescope, that makes everything adjacent. And I think it's a little bit broken, probably. Like in certain builds, it's very, very, very good. This is quite funny. The goose is not great and has this 1% chance to lay a golden egg, which is like very good. I don't actually like these very much. So actually, I didn't mean to click off, but you can skip. You don't have to add something. And we're starting to get to the stage where it's starting to get full. And I don't like adding too many one coin things, especially when we're definitely going to be able to make rent. There's all these hexes, which basically have really good returns, but there's a chance of essentially like bad things happening. And it's interesting. I don't like them, but they're not bad at the start, I guess. This one has a chance to destroy symbols, which is a bit of a bummer, but sometimes it can destroy like bad things, which is not a bad thing. And this has a chance of basically not letting you add a symbol in the next round. I don't think this is very good because you want lots of chance to add symbols. But I'll try a Hex of Destruction. It's not so bad. And we don't have that many amazing things at the moment. So getting the extra income is great. So we need 175 in 6 spins. So that's like 125 in 6. We have to make like about 25 or like 20 in each. I don't think we want more Hex of Destructions. These are fine. These like a 2 gold gem is fine. So items, swear jar. Every time we get 25 or less, we put a coin in here. Generally, it's not this great. And if this is the first item, it's not so bad because in the early rounds, you often make less than 25. But I don't think it's going to happen very often now. I'm probably making, it'll be close. This is very good because both Moon and Sun are quite good. They're rare symbols that have different adjacency bonuses, and this makes them do all non-adjacent things. So the thing is, I'm not really doing any of those strategies that much. So yeah, I don't know, actually. It's a bit tricky. I might just take Clear Sky on, like it's got the higher upside, I think, basically. So let's see how that goes. The Hex hasn't got me yet. Oh, we've got another cultist. So I think I should take another cultist. Coal is quite interesting. It takes 20 turns. It doesn't do anything. And after 20 turns, it goes into a diamond, which is a great. It's like a 5 money thing. Hey, how you going, Chits and Giggles? I feel like I should know your name. I'm sorry that I don't actually know your real name, your non-username. Yeah, this is Luck Be a Landlord. It's literally, people call roguelike slot machines. This is literally a roguelike slot machine. And it's lots of fun. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, and I think we've made 100 followers. Thank you, CAD Board Games, who followed me. Thank you very much. So yeah, coal is great, especially early on because you've got plenty of time and there's not as much pressure in the early rounds to hit rent. But actually, I have to take cultists because we're on a bit of a cultist run. We've got 2 cultists early on, 3rd cultist, which is quite good early on because there's a better chance that I'll get all 3. And I did. I got all 3 cultists, so that's fantastic. I'll take an orange. I think generally getting anything that has 2 or more money is quite good. Oh, our Hex killed one of our cultists. Probably shouldn't have. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I don't mind a lucky capsule to try and give me some better. Wow, I'm killing a lot of things with this Hex. But I killed the tomb, which gave me my spirit. So actually, there was a little combo there. So I could work on things that need to be destroyed. No, thanks very much for all the kind words. Yeah. So now the farm is interesting because it makes all the fruit give double. And I have some fruits, not a lot, but the upside on this is really good, basically, because anything you take can be essentially doubly as good. So yeah, like here it's just doubling that orange, so it's now going to give me 4 money, which is really, really great. I can take the urn again. I think the die is interesting. It basically gives you between 1 and 3, so like the average is 2, which is not too bad. But I'll take the urn because I don't mind it being destroyed. There is an item you can get that helps you with these rerolls essentially, but yeah, okay. So we're fine with rent. Okay. Well, we've got a plum, and I think we still have our farmer. So plums are essentially like 4 if they're next to our farmer. So green peppers, this is what I was talking about. It's usually good to have things that are the same because these peppers all kind of work with similar items. So this gives 3 money if at least 3 symbols are the same and not this. And I don't have many things that are 3. In fact, I don't have any that are the type, but I can definitely work towards it. So I think I'll take that. Oh, this was a good farmer. So yeah, things are going well. I have the egg carton, so I will always take an egg because basically you'll see this is as soon as I spin, this is going to tick up to 2. It sort of automatically takes the egg, and now it'll pay out every round. So it's a way of getting rid of a bad thing and like increasing your kind of like income like every round, which is really great. Yeah. So it's not going too badly. Not going too badly. I don't like any of these really, so I think I'll skip. Even though I still have some empties, which is a bit of a problem. But I really okay. So well, we can keep going with the cultist stream, I guess, and hope that none of them get destroyed by the thing. Yeah, the art's really great. I wish the owl was better. I don't pick owls very often. I'll take a chemical 7. I think at some point getting like you basically need to get 3 of these chemical 7s and they pay out and you get 77. And it's a nice thing to kind of work towards. I'm going to have to keep checking whether we have symbols because it goes so quickly that I miss what's getting destroyed by a hex destruction. But we still have the farmer, so we're okay to take fruit. There's another thing called the fruit basket, which is great, which also ups your score for fruit, which you know if I got would be really, really great. So we're going pretty comfortably. Oh, this is kind of fun. It's pretty early for a King Midas actually. So King Midas basically floods your like slot machine with coins because every time King Midas turns up on a spin, it adds a coin. And coins aren't that great, but every coin adjacent to King Midas gives 3, which is pretty reasonable. So this is very like polarizing because you'll end up with like a coin like full deck. It's interesting. This is quite good as well. It sort of doubles everything and then goes away. So it's like a one-shot thing. I don't know whether it's a good idea because we're already doing. No, I'm going to take the buffering capsule because we're already doing. Yeah. Oh, thanks very much, Brad. Thanks for coming by. And yes, I will do my best being a landlord. Thanks very much. So do I still have? I still have 1 rabbit fluff, and this gives me more from rabbit fluff. So I think I will go for that. Okay, nice. So that it doubled everything around that capsule essentially. So it's like a one-shot. I'm not a fan of any of these, so I might skip. But we're getting some good cultist action. If we get 1 more cultist, it will be really great. I'm going to take this urn. It's like a bigger urn. It already gives 2, and it gives you 2 spirits when destroyed. So I could. Oh no! I think my farmer just died. Ah, no! This hex take this away. Okay, so we've got to remember that fruit is not necessarily that much better anymore. But another rabbit fluff is good because I've got the thing that gives me more money for rabbit fluff. Okay, the safe. Oh, whoops! I'm not very good at clicking. I didn't mean to skip that. Actually, I probably would have added the safe. Robert asks, if you have more than 25 symbols and 1 is destroyed, it is replaced by the dot or just removed, bringing count down. It's replaced with a dot. Just in that time, it's just an empty slot. It still scores, and then it's kind of removed, but it doesn't introduce another empty. You never, once you've replaced all the empty slots, you never like have more essentially. But like they don't add ones when something's destroyed, or at least that's what I found. Do we want a chick? I mean, maybe. Because getting eggs, because hens basically have a chance of laying eggs. So I'm okay with getting chicks. We must have got another egg from the hen at some point. I'll take a strawberry. It's just good money. 3 from any symbol is definitely worthwhile. Yeah, and we're going pretty comfortably. Can make that rent. So yeah, I'd say we're. Oh, and we got offered a farmer again, so we can get that farmer back. He's back. So the cleaning rag is quite good. It makes all the gems worth more. We don't have a lot of gems. We're more fruit kind of people. The reroll thing is interesting. So it makes taking these dice a bit more safe, essentially. Jay thinks the hex is okay as it keeps the number of symbols down. Yeah, I think it's, especially because I've got 2 of these rabbit fluffs, which means I'm generally adding quite good symbols. I think it's a problem if you're not necessarily adding good symbols very often. I'll take this reroll thing. Maybe I should have taken the polishing rag because it's just a bit more useful. Dwarves are funny. They need to drink. They give you lots of money by drinking, but I don't have any beer or wine at the moment. Ore is okay. When it's destroyed, it gives you a gem, but no, I think I'll just skip. I'm not that. So we're kind of like a cultist fruit strategy at the moment, slash earns. I think I'll skip on this. Oh, I do have a. Do I still have a toddler? I do have 1 toddler. I should have probably taken the candy. Actually, I forgot we had a toddler because toddlers want to eat candy. So if I see candy, I should add it. I really do love a capsule. This will like double everything, and it can really make like a lot of money quite quickly. I think we're a little bit late for coal, to be honest. Although I might take a coal. We're doing pretty well at the moment, so I feel like I can kind of like hurt my economy a little bit. Okay, so we do have a toddler, so I just have to get the toddler to open the pinata, and then they'll have a lot to eat. I can take another big urn. It's fine. Maybe at some point this hex is going to do something. This destroys itself and gives you another item, which is quite cool. The toddler doesn't want. It's so close. You can see the pinata. It's just there. Ooh, martini is quite nice. Just 3 by itself. I'm not really. This is like rain is another thing that helps you with flowers and seeds, but we're not really doing that. So yeah, I'll just take a 3 essentially. These give you more when these particular things get destroyed, which is or like 1.5 times as much. It's pretty much the best I've got out of those choices. I think the other ones don't really do that much. So yeah, the Hex of Thievery has a chance of like stealing money from you instead of giving money to you. But actually, on average, it's not that great. So like 1 in 3 times roughly, it'll take 3 away. So it'll like add 3, take away 3. So its return is like 6 minus 3, 3, but over 3 rolls, so that's 1 per roll. So it's actually not very good. Yeah, maybe this is a skip. I think there's probably like some. Yeah, thanks very much, Alex. Have it. Thanks, Aqua. Have a great evening. Yeah, we have 2 chickens though, because like getting 3. I'm going to take the chick. I like the chance to get more eggs. I want to fill up my egg carton. Let's go on the chickens, and let's hope we get. Let's hope we get some, because there are some things that help with chickens. This is a skip though. Yeah. So actually, whoever convinced me to take the piggy bank was that was a very good pick, because this will essentially give me an extra 44 money by the end, which is great. How are we going? We need 403 spins. I will be fine. Which means actually we could. Oh, I like a peach. Actually, we've got the farmers, and it's a relatively good fruit. So, well, another pinata. All right, we kind of want a. I really want a. The toddlers haven't really been working out, I think, generally. Okay, I don't think I can keep taking big urns. Well, maybe I can. I'm just really hoping that I get the. There's an item which basically makes a chance that you're going to break open these urns each time, which I would really like. This is great. I've got the reroll dice thing. Oh, and we've got the fruit bar. Okay, great. So we're definitely like, we're fruit all the way, because the fruit basket gives you 1 more from all your fruit, essentially, which is great. I'll take the chemical 7 because I have to still get 2 more 7s, essentially, at some point. And I also have a thing that every time I break open a 7, it gives me more. Oh, and I got given the... Okay, well, that was easy. gave me, and I think this is a good time to get that windfall. Actually, that was a really good round. These are all kind of rubbish. Oh, the look, the toddler finally broke open the pinata and says, "Nice return from that." Yeah, good time for a buffing capsule, especially if we can. Oh wow, that was a good one. It got in the middle. Anytime you get surrounded by knights. So adjacent in this game also includes diagonals. I should say, take any reasonable fruit when we see it, because we've got farmers and we've got the fruit basket. So yeah, we're getting doing things going well. I'll take the wealthy capsule. It just breaks itself open and gives you money essentially. And because we've got this, it'll give an extra 5 money. These are all not that interesting. We're not an animal. Yeah, the run's going pretty well. I've had some, like, I think unfortunately, like, the things where you can get trapped is I think the strategies aren't quite balanced yet, which is fine. It's early access. So I think there are definitely things that are a little bit safer. I'm going to skip this. Oh, another sweet Aiden by the toddler. Excellent. Okay, yeah, so we're doing pretty well. Up to 500. Oh, that is tricky. Do I take the emerald? Probably. I should have taken that shining safe. Yeah, I mean, nothing's ever completely safe, but I feel like there's a lot that rewards fruit. And there's actually more that rewards fruit than gems, for example, because like there's no equivalent of the farmer on the gem side. Yeah, I guess it's the capsule. It probably is the capsule. Okay. Oh, nice. Actually, great. Yeah. So this is the interesting. This is the one that makes these like ones that give you a certain amount of time. It makes them better because they basically happen more quickly, which is interesting. So if you got this early, it's better. You need 3 bears to make. Oh, looks good. But this is great. It makes capsules happen twice, and I already have things that makes the wealthy capsule working. Oh, I said safer when safe was option. Great. Yeah, definitely check it out, Robert. Thanks very much for dropping by, and yeah, have a nice evening. So this buffing, it was in the corner, and it's going to double up, which is going to be great, but it would have been even better. This is one we haven't seen before. This is a very, it's a capsule that costs you money, but then it adds this pool ball, which is an item that just gives you 1 every time. And I don't know whether this is going to give me -8, actually. No, it just gives me 2. So it's great. That was like I paid 4 to get like 2 every time now. How are we going with the cultist? I should probably take another cultist because we're still on the cultist plan. Although we've kind of, it's all a bit diluted now, but I haven't checked like how close we are. We need 506 spins. We're probably fine. We're making about 50 per spin. So I don't really like any of those. Oh, wow. Sweets galore for this toddler now. And that's why I like the toddler strategy, actually. Oh, I'll put another egg in because yeah, you can only have 6 eggs, but how many sweets do we have? Well, we have 5 sweets. Maybe we can do another toddler because it'll make it, it'll clear out the sweets more quickly. I'll take more oranges because we want more of the same, because our green pepper wants 3 symbols to be the same, which has actually been scoring quite well. None of these are great. Okay, no, these are not that useful. I think that's the only other thing with the game I find a little bit near the end. Like once you have a strategy that's working well, you tend to skip more often than you add things, which is a bit of a pity, really. I'll take the chemical 7 because I'm getting a little bit of extra money. It's basically just like 10 money or something, which is good as a sort of influx. Yeah, we're making it easily. Good times. The witch is interesting. It gives, like, it makes the hexes better. And if we get any, I do have 1 hex, so it's not bad. Sun is great if you're doing the flower strategy, but I'm not doing that. You'll take sun. I mean, I do have this sun moon, but I don't have, I have single, I have 1 flower. But it's true, it's about the same level of interaction as this, and this means it'll hit at any time. So yeah, I'll take the sun, actually. Oh, great. Okay. We have the chicken coop, and we have 3 chickens. I mean, I don't know if I want more eggs, to be honest. Just you're saying, loving this game. Oh, thanks for introducing me. Also, do you play video games more, less than, or around the same compared to board games? I play less video games than I play board games. Yeah, but I play them at different times. And in a way, actually, the video games I play are very board game like in a way. You know, I enjoy playing Magic. I play Magic Arena, like Slay the Spire, but again, they're kind of like card games that are digital, so they kind of fit all into the same thing. The thing is, I don't actually know whether I want to add a lot of more eggs, because eggs are not that great, and chickens by themselves are okay. I kind of going to take this symbol bomb, which lets you immediately choose a couple of things to add. Sometimes you don't get anything useful, but there's just a chance I could have got something good. Like if I'd got another, like another cultist or something, that would have been quite good. But yeah, yeah, I've got a full up thing now. Yeah, let's put another pinata in. We've got two toddlers, so let's hope the toddlers find the. Yeah, you are right about the sun, because I have this item which makes sun affect non-adjacent symbols. So anytime the flower and the sun come up, it's just very good. The funny things you say in this game. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got a toddler eating something. It's funny when I said like this coal is gonna work out, but it hasn't worked out at all, because it hasn't even transformed yet. Yeah, and to be honest, generally, I do add a lot of symbols. I don't know what my count is at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 7, 11, 13, 18, 20, 26, 28, 36. I have like 42 symbols. So like once you get to a certain point, you know, you've got so many symbols, I guess, that you're really questioning like even reasonable things you don't bother adding. Don't need any of that. Oh no! Oh, we broke open an urn. Oh, wow, that was really good actually, because we broke open an urn, which gives me these spirits, which give more money, which is fantastic. Oh, this is a good farmer. Oh, we just killed a chicken. Oh, and wow, everything's happening. This one, very happy toddler there. Very happy toddler. How are we going for? We need 2 more 7s, but the dice are quite good, because I'm essentially, if a 5 ever rolls less than 3, it re-rolls. So it sort of improves the odds of getting like a 4 or 5, which is just really great. Yeah, we've got plenty of sweets for the toddler to eat. So get at it, toddlers. Oh, we got the witch again. Yeah, because we've got spirits now. We've got 1 spirit, so we'll try the witch. It would be nice to be able to remove symbols once in a while. Yeah, I think that's something that's going to be added. I think they were talking about that as a sort of a thing to be added. So this is now the last one. I know 750 is the last one. So I would say we're pretty much on the. Oh, wow, another sun. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's double sun run. If I'd gone for like growing flowers, this would have been really great. Obviously, blue pepper's terrible because you need empties. Red pepper's not really going to happen either, but happy out. Like you may as well. I don't know why you would ever skip an item, because there's no penalty to having more items, at least as far as I know. No, none of these are very good. Yeah, I would say at the moment, like animals are generally feel worse. Like, but that's just me. No, not that interested. Oh, I re-rolled a 1. Great. This might actually be close. Yeah, we'll have to see. Oh yeah, finally the coal is. For a moment there, I thought that the hex had destroyed my diamond, and that would have made me very sad. Okay, I'll take a chemical 7 and hope that I'm going to get 1 by the end. I might. Let's see. Oh wow, we got the hex for the witch. That was nice. It seems to re-roll to 1 often. Yeah, it's a cursed die. But I think over the time, again, you spin, like, you really, I think, do get the average, because you're just spinning it so often that, you know, how many cultists are we at? Oh, we can just, yeah, we can have some more cultists, up the chance of making the cultists a bit better. How are we going? Oh, yeah, we're going to make it easily, he says, but I'm pretty certain that, oh, wow, the hex opened up and it's interesting, I guess, if you add symbols and there are empty spaces, they do score, actually, which is interesting. We are out of sweets, so I'm not going to add any more, but I'll take an item capsule. Yeah, I know, exactly. I have it 2 times on the item capsule, so taking capsules is great. Yeah, and also this egg thing has been great, because now it's giving me an extra 6 money, essentially, which is really fantastic. No, I don't need any of this. We are all fine. And I still have this piggyback that I haven't even had to use, essentially. No, these are useless. We got some items near the end. Oh, we ended up with 4 cultists, which is pretty nice. So I'm going to break open the piggy bank just to get a better score, basically. But yeah, so that's my final score, essentially. Well, the score is kind of your leftover money, I guess. It's not my best. I think my best, I had like 800 or something left at the end. But yeah, it was a fun. It was interesting starting with a cultist, and I think actually it worked out. You don't need that many cultists to make it work, realistically. But it is interesting that, yeah, I think it's once you get to know the game and played enough, you sort of know, I guess, like which items have the most upside, and you can sort of reliably draft them, and then just not take the other things. And as I said, sort of during the play, like animals are. Like, I haven't seen a lot of ways to make animals score a lot more, or like, yeah, the way you can get like really big scores is usually, like, I think the best ones I've had is where you get, like, you're going a really like a flower strategy, because that you can have like rain and bees and sun can all like make flowers score more, and because they're all multiplying, you know, it's not like they're necessarily, they don't add one more, they're worth double. So you get like double. So you can get like ×8 or ×16 for some things. And that's where you get like these really crazy scores. And I've seen things on the Discord where people have got 1,000 or something, or like, no, some like in the 5 digits or something. Like 10, I'd have to see, but like 10,000 coins over, which I don't know exactly how you get there. There's this like a wild card item as well, which like just doubles the highest thing next to it. So yeah, I think there's some definitely, but you need to get some like really good, like there are some rare items that are just really good and things like that. So yeah, that's Luck Be a Landlord, not Luck Be a Lady. Yeah, I would really recommend it, and I'm really interested to see how like what they're going to add. Like they've already announced like the kind of 3 new symbols they're going to add, and I think, you know, it's still in early access, so it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a, you know, it'll still be. But it's really, but that being said, it's super playable right now. It's like very smooth, you know, a little bit addictive, I guess, but quite relaxing, and you get a handle on all the kind of. And I think I just really kudos to this like way of how they make it very easy to like learn about the new symbols and things like that, because otherwise I think it would take you, you know, it's a bit too long. And yeah, it is interesting. Definitely sense the board game feelings in this game, because. I am thinking now about, yeah, how could you transform this into a kind of a, you know, transform it into a board game? And I think it's possible, actually. I've had a few thoughts about it, but yeah. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, we're getting up on, yeah, exactly, like a bag drawing, bag building game. I think would definitely be quite interesting. Oh yes, and thank you, Chits and Giggles, for the follow. Thank you very much. Well, if everyone's playing at the same time, then you would get around the timing problems, I think. Yeah, but it'll take too long to play. So I think that's going to be it for me this evening. Thank you all for staying to the end, staying through Luck Be a Landlord. I think I might actually start doing some streaming of Luck Be a Landlord as just like a set stream. I'm actually really enjoying it. You know, really relaxing, and I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's fun to watch, but. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So just a reminder, next stream's on Wednesday morning European time. So it's 9 a.m. GMT or 10 o'clock Central European time. So, and that's like a really chill board game cuppa, where I just, you know, everyone grabs a cup of tea or coffee, and we sit back and just chat and just have a really chill time. And then on Friday, I'm at the same time as now, 4 p.m. GMT or 5 p.m. CET, and I guess there might be some more Luck Be a Landlord streams somewhere sprinkled in for all of that. So I hope you all have a really wonderful evening, and good rest of the week. Good luck with work or whatever you've got going on. Play some good games if you get a chance. And does anyone have any suggestions of who we should raid? I'm just having a quick look. Paula Deming is streaming at the moment. I'm not sure what she's great. Check her out. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so that should work. Oh, it looks like she's playing the Raiders of the North Sea. So that should be cool. Yeah. Thank you all, as always. Have a great evening, and we'll catch up on Wednesday and see how it goes. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.